when she took a turn to Ms. Markle, it sounded a little different. Take a listen.
What is it like to watch other celebrities, Gwyneth Paltrow, Meghan Markle, going in your footsteps and following something that you've really started?
Meghan, I don't really know very well, and I hope she knows what she's talking about. Authenticity to me is everything, and to be authentic and knowledgeable about your subject matter is extremely important.
She's like, the other is a know-nothing faker who's just glomming onto me and my brand, which, by the way, Maureen Callahan and I discovered firsthand, Glenn, when we did our parody of Meghan's stupid Netflix show, trying to make herself into the next Martha Stewart, and we realized her one-pot pasta is just a blatant ripoff of Martha Stewart's one-pot pasta, which turned out to be like one of her most famous recipes. And it's honestly just like an unabashed ripoff. I'm sure Martha's heard about it and is probably like, who is this fool trying to imitate that she's me, as she, out of the other side of her mouth, complains about how her castle is too small.
Sometimes the quietest comments cause the biggest waves. Recently, lifestyle legend Martha Stewart allegedly made a remark about authenticity that many believe was aimed straight at Meghan Markle. It wasn't loud, but it was sharp, and Megyn Kelly wasted no time calling it proof of a much bigger problem for Meghan's new image.
I'm sure Martha's heard about it and is probably like, who is this fool trying to imitate that she's me, as she, out of the other side of her mouth, complains about how her castle is too small.
When asked about Meghan's new lifestyle ventures, Martha Stewart kept her tone light, but her words pointed. She spoke about how real lifestyle brands grow from years of lived experience, not something you can create overnight. Sources say many took this as a subtle but unmistakable dig at Meghan's recent rebrand. To them, it sounded like Stewart was quietly questioning whether Meghan's image shift was genuine or just another carefully packaged project. Megyn Kelly seized on the moment, calling Stewart's comment classic and brilliant, suggesting it captured what many in the media had been thinking, that Meghan's brand feels less like a natural evolution and more like an attempt to copy someone else's crown.
Meghan, I don't really know very well, and I hope she knows what she's talking about. Authenticity to me is everything. Meghan, I don't really know very well, and I hope she knows what she's talking about. Authenticity to me is everything.
And while Stewart didn't name names, the timing made it almost impossible not to connect the dots. But this was just the start, because Meghan's latest moves have been raising eyebrows for more than just her choice of recipes and home decor tips. After stepping away from royal duties, Meghan Markle didn't just leave behind the palace gates, she stepped straight into a new role. Sources say she's been building a polished lifestyle image through interviews, cookbooks, charity tie-ins, and upcoming streaming projects. The goal, allegedly, to position herself alongside the giants of the lifestyle world, names like Martha Stewart, Joanna Gaines, and Ina Garten. But unlike her rivals, Meghan's brand isn't rooted in decades of hands-on work in kitchens, gardens, or design studios. Instead, critics say it's been carefully assembled in record time with a luxury backdrop that feels far removed from everyday life. It's a strategy that might have worked if not for the growing gap between how Meghan sees her brand and how audiences are responding, and nothing exposed that gap more than what happened next. When Meghan and Harry first signed their Netflix deal, it was announced with fanfare and enormous figures rumored in the press. But according to industry reports, their latest projects haven't delivered the same magic.
With Love, Meghan, that stupid program on Netflix, failed to rank among Netflix's top 300 most watched titles between January and June. The New York Post, confirmed Markle's 8-part series ranked 383rd, with just 5.3 million views since it debuted on March 4th. 5.3 million. I've got clips of you, Glenn Greenwald, that have more than that on our feed. It's crazy how low that was.
Sources claim with Love, Meghan landed far down Netflix's rankings, pulling in modest viewership compared to expectations. The much talked about Polo documentary, a passion project filmed against the backdrop of luxury fields, drew even fewer viewers, allegedly struggling to reach 500,000 streams.
Harry's show Polo, also on Netflix, was watched by only 500,000 people. It's at number 3,436. Losers, enjoy Montes.
Critics like Megyn Kelly argue this proves the public isn't connecting with Meghan's curated image, no matter how much effort goes into production. And for Netflix, where every minute of watch time matters, that's a warning sign. But this wasn't just about low numbers, because behind the scenes, something else was happening with their Netflix deal that made headlines of its own. When Meghan and Harry first teamed up with Netflix, it was billed as one of the streaming giant's biggest celebrity signings. The reported figures were huge, the buzz was massive, and the deal came with the kind of security most creators could only dream about: a large upfront payment, guaranteed production, and global promotion. But that chapter appears to be over. Multiple outlets report the new deal strips away those guarantees. Instead of Netflix committing to air whatever they produce, the couple now has a first look arrangement. In plain terms, it means Meghan and Harry must create the content first. Then Netflix will decide if it's worth picking up, and only if it gets the green light will they see the payout. On paper, that might sound like a small tweak. In reality, industry insiders say it's a huge downgrade. The old deal meant stability. The new deal puts them in the same position as countless other creators, pitching ideas and hoping the platform bites. Sources suggest this change wasn't born out of a creative breakthrough, but out of necessity. One theory is that their team, possibly led by powerhouse agent Ari Emanuel, negotiated the first look to avoid the optics of being fully dropped. It's a face-saving move, allowing Meghan and Harry to claim they still have a Netflix partnership, while the truth may be that Netflix is quietly stepping back. And that raises a big question. If Netflix truly believed they were still a bankable investment, wouldn't it have been easier to just renew the original terms? The company has the money, the resources, and the incentive to back proven hits. The fact they didn't speaks volumes. Yet there's one reason Netflix might still keep them in the room. A subject that, love it or hate it, has always sold royal family drama, and if certain events in the monarchy unfold in the years ahead, that first look clause could become far more valuable than it seems right now. For Meghan and Harry, no amount of lifestyle content, cookbooks, or luxury branding seems to capture the public's attention like one thing: royal drama. Every revelation, every anecdote about palace life, every glimpse behind the gilded walls of monarchy has historically drawn massive audiences. Sources say this isn't a coincidence. It's the kind of content that generates clicks, streams, and headlines globally, almost automatically. Think back to the Oprah interview. Millions tuned in not for lifestyle tips or personal anecdotes alone, but to hear stories that had previously been shielded from public view. Every subtle gesture, every phrase, every reaction made front-page news. Industry insiders reportedly consider this the blueprint for what makes Meghan and Harry Netflix gold. When they focus on the monarchy, attention skyrockets. Netflix seems to understand the pattern. Even if Meghan's lifestyle projects, like her polo documentary or cooking ventures, flop in comparison, sources say the streaming giant might still see strategic value in keeping a first-look option open for royal-related content. After all, the monarchy is a living story, unpredictable, high stakes, and globally fascinating. And any new developments, whether rumored controversies or ceremonial moments, could instantly become profitable material. Critics like Megyn Kelly argue that this dynamic presents both opportunity and risk. On one hand, royal drama guarantees public engagement and helps sustain the couple's brand and media cycles. On the other, it arguably traps them in the same narrative they allegedly wanted to move away from when they stepped down from royal duties. Every attempt at lifestyle branding or public reinvention faces comparison against the spectacle of palace life, and the world is unlikely to forget the storylines that originally made them famous. What's more, sources say there's an emotional component to this dynamic. Fans and critics alike watch closely, searching for authenticity or signs that the couple's new ventures are, as some claim, carefully curated performances rather than genuine experiences. That tension between authenticity and spectacle is exactly what makes the story compelling, keeping audiences glued to screens for every new project or interview. And while Meghan has reportedly tried to pivot her image from royal duchess to global influencer to lifestyle entrepreneur, the public's fascination with palace intrigue remains her most reliable draw. That's why, despite the mixed reviews and modest ratings for her latest content, analysts suggest that royal-focused projects may continue to dominate her career narrative. But the question that keeps industry watchers and commentators talking is, can Meghan ever fully escape the shadow of the palace? Or will every new project, no matter how creative or luxurious, always be measured against the drama that first brought her to the world stage? The answer isn't simple, and it sets the stage for an even deeper look at her branding challenges, which we'll explore next. No matter how polished Meghan Markle's new ventures become, sources say she faces a challenge that numbers and branding alone can't fix: public perception. For all the carefully curated social media posts, lavish homes, and luxury collaborations, critics argue that she hasn't fully escaped the image that followed her since leaving royal duties. Some say it's a classic paradox of celebrity reinvention. On one hand, she has global recognition, influence, and access to platforms that most creators dream of. On the other, every attempt to redefine herself, whether through lifestyle content, Netflix documentaries, or philanthropic work, is measured against a very public past. Every gesture is dissected: a smile, a photo, a quote. Allegedly, no amount of professional polish can fully erase decades of headlines or shift the collective narrative overnight. Megyn Kelly and other commentators have repeatedly highlighted this struggle. According to sources, Kelly suggests that Meghan's pivot into lifestyle and brand building sometimes comes across as contrived or out of touch. Projects like her polo documentary or cooking segments, while well produced, are perceived by some viewers as attempts to step into a world she hasn't organically inhabited. Unlike established figures such as Martha Stewart, whose authority comes from decades of experience, Meghan's lifestyle ventures are relatively new, and that gap in authenticity can be noticeable. It's not just critics who notice this. Audience metrics reportedly suggest that engagement for Meghan's lifestyle projects lags compared to her royal-related content. Sources say viewers tune in eagerly for interviews or series involving palace insights, but are far less responsive to cooking tips or luxury hobbies. Analysts claim this contrast highlights the tension between her public persona and the brand she's trying to build, and that tension keeps audiences talking, but not always in the way her team might hope. Another layer of complexity is the global scrutiny she faces. As a former member of the British royal family, every step Meghan takes is observed internationally. Sources allege that even subtle missteps, a comment, a gesture, or the way a project is framed, are amplified across media outlets, social platforms, and fan communities. That constant spotlight makes it harder to shift perception organically, meaning her attempts at reinvention are often met with skepticism or criticism. Then there's the question of relatability. Meghan's luxury-focused projects like polo or high-end culinary content arguably cater to a very niche audience. Critics say this can reinforce the perception that she's out of touch with everyday viewers, the same people who initially supported her story of stepping back from royal life to find independence. Allegedly, when audiences see her in settings far removed from their own experiences, the disconnect can overshadow the intended message of empowerment or relatability. Even within her closest circles, sources suggest that Meghan faces challenges balancing authenticity with ambition. Every career move is strategic, and yet every strategic decision is scrutinized for sincerity. That scrutiny can create a feedback loop. She attempts to innovate, the public questions it, critics amplify the skepticism, and her team recalibrates only to face the same cycle again. And yet, despite all these obstacles, the fascination with Meghan Markle persists. Sources say part of the reason is that the very tension between her past and present keeps audiences engaged. Viewers are curious to see whether she can successfully carve out a new identity or whether the shadow of her royal history will continue to shape her public image. That uncertainty, the possibility of transformation or failure, is exactly what keeps people watching, sharing, and debating her every move. This image problem also has a financial dimension. Every project, partnership, or Netflix special carries risk. If audiences perceive her ventures as inauthentic, engagement may lag and commercial opportunities may be limited. Sources claim that while she has a powerful platform and undeniable influence, perception and relatability remain critical factors in her long-term success. Ultimately, the challenge Meghan faces isn't just about creating content or expanding a brand. It's about navigating a world where every decision is public, every project is compared to a global standard, and every attempt to redefine herself is weighed against decades of public perception. Allegedly, that's a struggle few celebrities ever fully overcome, and for Meghan, it may be the defining tension of her post-royal life. And while this image problem continues to shape her projects and audience reactions, the next chapter in her story could come from another direction entirely: the influence of media commentary, streaming platforms, and the public's insatiable curiosity about what happens behind the scenes. Meghan Markle's story, from actress to duchess to lifestyle entrepreneur, has always unfolded under the world's gaze. Sources say that no amount of careful planning can completely shield her from scrutiny. Every project, every comment, every public appearance is analyzed, shared, and debated across headlines and social feeds. Even as she seeks to redefine herself, the public fascination persists. Critics and commentators, from Megyn Kelly to countless media outlets, continue to weigh in on her attempts at authenticity, her branding efforts, and her lifestyle projects. And while some of that criticism is harsh, sources suggest it also keeps her relevant, ensuring audiences remain engaged, curious, and often divided in their opinions. Netflix, meanwhile, seems to understand this dynamic. Even if Megyn's lifestyle ventures falter, the allure of royal insight, personal revelations, and dramatic storytelling keeps her projects in demand. That tension between ambition and perception, between luxury branding and relatable storytelling, is what makes her story so compelling. Ultimately, Megyn's journey is far from predictable. Allegedly, her struggles to balance authenticity with influence, relatability with luxury, and innovation with public expectation ensure that audiences will continue watching, analyzing, and debating her every move. And perhaps that is the lasting power of her story. A reminder that in the age of media scrutiny, every reinvention comes with its own challenges, and every attempt to grow leaves the world watching, waiting for the next chapter to unfold.